the easiest way to kosher a kitchen for Pesach, for Passover. Before we start to demonstrate, we need to learn three main rules regarding how to kosher things for Passover. One rule: there are two prohibitions. Possession, owning chametz in Passover. The second one is eating chametz in Pesach. The main difference between the two is the measurement, the size of chametz that we are allowed or not allowed to have. Regarding possession, only a worthwhile piece of chametz, 3 centimeters on 3 on 3, this size of cube, is prohibited from owning. Why is that? Because less than this, let's say crumbs of chametz, you cannot claim ownership over. So only a worthwhile piece of chametz that you can put in this 3 on 3 on 3 centimeter box, cube, is prohibited from owning. But today we're talking about the kitchen. The kitchen is the place where we cook. We're getting in touch with the things that we put in our mouth. In this, there is no measurement. Every piece of chametz is prohibited from eating, from consuming in Passover. More than that, even crumbs are prohibited, and worse, even the taste of the chametz is prohibited from tasting during Passover. When we come to kosher the kitchen, we'll have to get rid of all the taste that was absorbed inside the pots, utensils, and everything that we're gonna eat in Passover. Rule number 2. What can transfer the taste of the chametz from, let's say, a slice of bread into the pot? The answer is heat. When we take a pot of soup and we put inside a slice of bread, we dip the bread inside, the whole pot might absorb by the heat the taste of the chametz. The heat transfers the taste from the food inside to the dishes. Same like when we cook a nice dish, a main dish. We have soup with potatoes and chicken. If we just put it inside cold water, nothing happens. The ones we put it on the stove, the heat transfers the taste from the potatoes to the chicken, from the chicken to the water, from all of it inside the pot. So if the soup was chametz, the pot itself absorbed a taste of chametz. Now if it was Pesach cooking, Passover cooking, when we have a matzah inside the pot, again the taste from the pot will be transferred into the matzah. Third rule regarding koshering the kitchen for Passover. And this rule is called in the Talmud the dog test. Why the dog test? Because when we talk about eating, only something that is edible, suitable for eating, is chametz in Passover. If we take crumbs or any piece of chametz during Pesach itself, before Pesach, but it is spoiled, completely spoiled, that not only we are now eating it, but it's not even suitable for an animal to eat, it is considered like earth, like nothing. If you take this piece that is so spoiled with acid, soap, whatever, put it inside your chicken soup, it still will be kosher of Pesach. You might not live long afterwards, but it is kosher for Pesach. We'll go now and see how the first thing in the kitchen, the fridge, how to kosher our fridge for Passover.
Go.
Koshering the fridge for Pesach is the easiest, and it includes mainly of cleaning. Reason being that inside the fridge there was no absorption of taste. And that reason is because there's no heat inside. As we said, what transfers the taste from a chametz to the utensils, to the pots, or to any other surface is the heat. So we have two things to do. One is to clean every piece of chametz, every crumb that we have here. After doing this, we'll use the second rule of the dog test. Many times, as we know, every powder of chametz is critical in Passover and we prohibit it from eating. Many times in the fridge, in here or in the corners, there might be some crumbs that are hard to clean. So we did a lot of work here and cleaned the whole fridge. Still there might be some crumbs in those places. For this we have this thing. What we have here, lots of soap. What I'm going to do now is to soak maybe a piece of crumb of chametz inside the fridge in the corners. And so even if we will have crumbs of chametz inside the fridge, they will be spoiled so much, not even an animal could eat them. Therefore, it's considered like earth, like nothing. After cleaning, maybe there was some crumbs left over here. From now on, they're not considered chametz because they're not considered food, because they're not edible, spoiled, and not edible even for a dog. I'll do the same to all the corners that we might have missed. And the last thing, just in case, I'm using foil, tin foil, but you can use any other thing. And after I clean the whole mess that I made here, I'll just cover the surface with something like this. You can use also newspaper, you can use a carton, you can use whatever plastic you want. This is good enough. And the fridge is kosher for Passover. Now we'll go towards the stoves.
One question.
Go ahead.
If it's a glass surface, which is in most domestic fridges, do you have to cover it?
Okay. Don't film it. The answer. I'll repeat the question and the answer. Do you want to start?
No, go.
Okay. The question was, what happens if the surface here is a glass surface? Same. We take this magical powder or liquid, we spoil whatever is in there, we clean it. Now in any case, even if there is some leftovers there, something that was spilled, some soup or whatever, it's spoiled. It might not be clean, but it is kosher. Why? Because it's not suitable even for an animal. It's better to also put something in between to just in case. Now we'll move to the stove. Koshering for Passover the stove top. What we need is scrubber, toxic liquid or inedible liquid, and make sure it is working. First of all, we need to get rid of all the crumbs, all the actual crumbs that are a little bigger than usual. Take the scrubber and all the surrounding of the stove top, we clean. Afterward, just in case, we also clean the stove top from all the crumbs, the end of the usage of the scrubber. Second stage, we take the inedible liquid, soap, just in case there is some hidden crumbs over here. We're generous and we soak them in the toxic liquid. Now, because the stove, the heat comes so hard, it's so hot, the heat itself will take the taste that was absorbed in the stove, if there was any, of chametz, and will take it out.
No, I wouldn't do that. You really away that soap.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Go.
After we cleaned all the surrounding of the stove top, we turn the stove to the higher level. When it gets warm, we leave it for half an hour, 30 minutes on. This for sure will take all the taste that was inside, outside. Why is that? Because this is the hardest level of absorption that is possible that happened here is when there was chametz here, it was on high and it absorbed the taste. Putting it on high, this is the same way the taste got in, the same way the taste will get out. After half an hour, this thing will be Halifax, kosher for Passover. Okay.
Sick.
Okay, turn this off.
So you're not koshering them now?
I'll kosher after the demonstration. You know what? I'll start with
Go.
Koshering for Passover, the ovens. What we'll do is, first of all, clean the whole thing, the whole oven. And second thing, again, we will spoil every possible crumb that we have there with some inedible soap. And third thing we'll do is to turn the ovens to the greatest heat, in which will take all the heat outward. So we start with cleaning. We already cleaned it. Second, of course, we have the dog test. So soaking every possible piece of crumb of bread with some inedible liquid. Third thing is to this one. Which one is the oven? Turning the oven on its highest level for half an hour. This is the hardest way of absorption of taste of chametz was in this level. This is also the level we will kosher the oven again. This is industrial kitchen, industrial oven, so it's very high. If you use, sometimes today we have in the domestic ovens the feature called self-clean. So if you want to use this one, you just use self-clean. You don't even need to use the liquid. You don't need even to clean it. It's so hard that it kills everything that's inside. There is no possible to have any slight taste of chametz there. You just do the self-clean, abracadabra, kosher of Passover. And of course we get the Halifax kosher after half an hour. It works. Koshering the burners for Passover is a little bit tricky. Reason being because we have the element itself, which gets really hot, and again, same way that it absorbs the taste inside it, it also can be taken out same way. So you just clean it, turn it to the highest level, and leave it for 30 minutes. But underneath here, or in the surrounding, also in the same wise in domestic burners, we have something like this. What might have happened is we cooked something that is chametz, not kosher for Passover, and it spilled over here. It was so hot that this piece absorbed some of the taste. How do we take the taste out of this piece? So the truth is, it's impossible. So we have two options. One option is to replace it, and that's what we're going to do, right?
No.
We're going to have a...
We're going to put tin foil on.
Or what we're going to do also, you can also do, put tin foil on it, cover it, after we heat it up. The heating up will not be enough. So we must cover it with something, a tin foil or something like this. There are many forms of burners, so what we do, after we use the magical soap that it will spoil every piece of actual bread or chametz there. We will also wrap it with tin foil or something like that. So for that, for the demonstration, and just putting it here. Let's say this is a new one, or we are going to, after we finish koshering, we're going to wrap it with tin foil, and we turn it on for 30 minutes. We start counting 30 minutes after the element turns red. This means it is the right level of heat. Here also, as we saw in the stove top, we're not starting to count 30 minutes before it turns red. There are two other ways to look for it. We can also take a spoon and bang it a little bit. If we see a little bit of sparkles going out, it means it's hot enough. Or another way of seeing it, if we see that the top is starting to peel a little bit, it also means that it is hot enough. So turns red, we hit it with a spoon or a metal element and it has some sparkles, or that the skin of it starts to peel a little bit. That's it for the didn't turn red yet.
One question. For your public.
Take one start.
Let's go.
When the burners turn red, this is when it takes the hardest way to take the taste of the chametz out of the burner. This is in this condition now is when you start to count 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it'll be kosher for Passover. Okay, question being asked in a domestic ovens today or stoves. Sometimes the burner is the, how do you call it? Ceramic burner. What do is we clean it. We are very generous with the soap we use. Then again, when it's all clean and dry, we just turn it on, highest level, for 30 minutes. That's it. The mixer. Mixer that is being used for chametz during the days that are not Passover cannot be used during Passover, no matter what. One, because sometimes there is some flour inside here in the engine, and you cannot really control the whole thing. Why are we showing this? Because this mixer is close to the stove and the oven. This whole place, this whole area is full of powder, of flour, and lots of chametz. How can we overcome all this? And what we're going to use again is the only thing we can do after cleaning as much as we can is the dog test. Okay? Again, whatever is inedible for even for an animal, for a dog before Pesach, during Pesach is not chametz. Come closer. You see here that there's still, although it was clean, there is still some flour stuck to the mixer. It is totally chametz. What I'm going to do now is to make this to be considered not as food, rather as ground, as dust, as nothing. I'm taking this soap and I soak the whole thing with this inedible liquid. I leave it for 30 seconds. No animal will ever be able to eat this thing. I wipe it off. Same thing I'm going to do to all this area. To spritz with this all over this place. So even if there was some powder of chametz, some flour that was not cleaned well enough, the whole thing will not be considered as food at all. That's it.
Even
That's
though
awesome.
you did that to her.
This is the best thing. I'm doing like the easiest way to kosher, or the
Yeah,
the
but
minimum.
that's a misconception. You can also say the toasters, all that.
Go ahead.
We're demonstrating now in an industrial kitchen. Why we show this mixer is because to show what we do, the surroundings of what we try to kosher when it is impossible to do otherwise. What do we mean impossible? In my house, I just will take the mixer, which is much smaller, and store it during the whole time of Pesach. Here it's so big and heavy we cannot move it. And we must take care of the surrounding of the area we are going to use in Passover. Again, even the smallest powder of chametz, even the taste of chametz, is severely prohibited from eating in Pesach. Well, what we just did, we made sure that even if there is a mistake, even if there is some powder here that is left uncleaned, it is not considered chametz anymore. How do we kosher the microwave for Passover? First of all, we need to wait 24 hours since the last time we used it. Second thing, we wipe it out and we take a scrubber and clean every actual piece of food leftover that is in here. After we did all that, we take a glass, pour some soap in it, no need for so much. Fill it with water. The same way the taste was transferred from the food here into the microwave, same way we're going to take it out with this. We're going to start this. I'm going to do only 15 seconds because if you do too long, the glass explodes.
I was getting there.
After 15 seconds, the thing will gonna be a little mess, so prepare a cloth to wipe all the water and soap that is all over. After that, we'll get the Halifax Kosher. If that was happen, if that was just happened, that it wasn't. Look, the glass is still full. I leave it for another 15 seconds. It'll be kosher for Passover after wiping the whole mess.
I wonder if you put it in measuring